Hello, I'm Melanie Stambaugh, and it's an honor to represent the 25th District in the House of Representatives. We are currently in a 30-day special session where discussions and negotiations surrounding the capital budget, transportation package, and operating budget continue. This week, my House Bill 1316 was signed into law by Governor Inslee. House Bill 1316 protects the elderly and disabled adults by adding the protection of vulnerable adults to the domestic violence statute. The change to the law will go into effect on July 24th. Additionally, I joined Representative Tina Orwall for the signing of her House Bill 1068, which addresses the testing of rape kits. With the passage of House Bill 1068, law enforcement will be required to request testing of rape kits within 30 days of receiving a kit, providing law enforcement the evidence to identify rape suspects. The bill also requires a task force to be created to review best practices for handling sexual assault examination kits and to reduce the current number of untested kits. Last week, I visited Central Washington University as part of their College Civics Engagement Week. Both Representative Zeiger and I spoke to students and faculty during our time on campus. I shared about bipartisan work in the legislature and also fielded questions surrounding education funding, teacher preparation courses in higher education, and effective policies for transfer credits between community colleges and four-year institutions. I was also in Washington, D.C. recently to learn about the connection between state and federal education policies and their specific and separate roles. I worked with the National Conference of State Legislatures to address changes in K12 federal education policy as proposed in the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, known as the ESEA, that is currently working its way through Congress. Pew Charitable Trust and the National Conference of State Legislatures held a discussion on higher education and the roles of state and federal government. We were joined by Department of Education Undersecretary Ted Mitchell and had dynamic conversation about the challenges facing higher education students. Affordability, transfer credits, and the diverse needs of students from workforce training to facilitating research were among many of the points in higher education that we discussed. During my time in D.C., I met with several U.S. representatives, including staff from Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers' office. I also met with Senator Patty Murray's education policy staff, as well as with Senator Maria Cantwell. I also had meetings with White House staff and representatives from the U.S. Department of Education. There is so much more to be done on the state and federal level for both K12 education and higher ed. The policies enacted at the federal level have a direct impact on our state. After returning home, U.S. Department of Education Deputy Assistant Secretary Joseph Walsh met with me in my office in Olympia to continue the conversation about state and federal government and identifying their specific role in the education system. I look forward to continuing to work on the behalf of our students, educators, and families to promote access to equitable, quality education in Washington State and to restore federal funding for our local school districts. Please continue to share your perspective with me. I welcome your comments, concerns, and suggestions. Not only does your input help shape the policy here in our state, but during my time in D.C., I was able to discuss with our federal representatives many of the questions and concerns that you have shared with me. Building the dialogue and connection is critical to improving our state. It is truly an honor to represent you in our State House of Representatives.